We are all very familiar with the chaotic streets of Family Guy, where logic takes a backseat and no joke is too dark, twisted, or wildly inappropriate. The show of the free. Most popularly, Peter's antics and Stewie's evil plots steal the show. Quahog's unsung heroes do a lot of the comedic lifting when nobody is watching. These are the characters who swoop in, drop a killer one-liner, and vanish faster than Meg at a family photo shoot. In this countdown, we'll spotlight the top 5 most underrated Family Guy characters. The weirdos, the creeps, and the gloriously awkward side players who deserve way more credit than they get. Let's dive in before Herbert shows up with the popsicles. Mort Goldman. Up first and foremost, we'll be covering the local germaphobe of Quahog, who perfectly encapsulates what human panic looks like. Here are some of Mort Goldman's most underrated antics. Starting with the episode named Road to Germany, which is a frightening name for an episode centered around our local Quahog Jew. The usual cast sits around watching the Oscars, and Lois asks everyone to hand in their Oscar picks before the event starts. All of a sudden, someone has to hit the loo because of a laxative. And look who it is, Mort.
Peter, may I use your restroom?
Peter tells him to go upstairs, and Mort hurries up, but finds that the bathroom has been occupied by Meg. He runs over to Brian's room, and finds a weird shape that definitely doesn't look like a porta potty. Without further ado, he steps inside the porta potty.
Oh, thank God, a porta potty.
Screams of agony can be heard from Mort, and not because he saw himself in the mirror. Chris tells Peter that Mort hasn't drank his Ensure, and Brian says that he'll go check in on him. He links up with Brian.
Uh-oh.
What?
My time machine has been activated.
Time machine?
After some expert investigation, Brian and Stewie deduce that Mort must have stepped inside the time machine. Stewie packs his baby backpack, and off they go on an adventure to save Mort. They land in Europe.
Okay, we're somewhere in Europe. Aha! Look, Brian! This trail of used tissues should lead us right to Mort.
They follow the trail and arrive at a Hebrew temple in Warsaw. To nobody's surprise, they find Mort in the Hebrew temple attending a Jewish wedding.
Oh, Mort, thank God!
Brian and Stewie? You're in heaven too?
Mort, this isn't heaven. You've time traveled into the past.
What?
Not so fast, Chief Rabbi. Mort convinces them to stay for the wedding, but a certain Austrian painter has other plans in mind. Germany starts their invasion of Poland, and the gang finds themselves in a tough spot.
Knew there was something about this date. September 1st, 1939. This is the German invasion of Poland.
They try to use Stewie's time machine, but it doesn't work. Left with no choice, Mort dresses up as a Christian priest to escape Poland, but a general finds them.
Father, we are so glad you're here. We need you to conduct last rites for our friend over there.
Mort is unsuccessful, and they find out he is a Jew, so they escape, leaving the officers in dust. A few hiccups later, they escape using a ship and arrive in London.
Why isn't the time machine working?
I'm working on it, Mort, all right?
Seems like Mort doesn't want to stay any longer, and Stewie finally found the reason why. The time machine needs some uranium, and they now have to visit Berlin to fetch some. After sneaking in the English Navy and going through a casual round of GTA Creative, they reach Berlin.
It's here. The uranium lab is in here.
Some Germans find the short end of a prank, and the gang steals their uniforms. They infiltrate the facility with Stewie cosplaying as the famous Austrian painter. The scientist obliges, and they try to get out of that place with the uranium, but run into the real thing himself. He orders his soldiers to execute them, but says that he will spare them if they perform a death musical. Stewie and Brian are the only simpletons who would be excited to play for a dictator, but Mort snaps at them.
Damn it, will you two just get in the time machine?
They finally go back to their time, and Stewie says that they're back 30 seconds before Mort comes in his room and finds the bathroom. So, he destroys his time machine, along with the current Mort, and the other one arrives.
Can I poop in here?
No!
Too late?
No, scream the boys in unison. Amazing way to end that episode. Another episode where Mort's antics shine is the season 10 episode Burning Down the Bayet. Peter and Quagmire visit the pharmacy to find some bandages and find Mort worried about his business going under.
Okay, Mort, now if you want to get more customers in your pharmacy, you're going to have to do a promotion, like buy one, get one free.
What?
Buy one, get one free.
Huh?
Buy one.
Yeah, I get that.
This is already getting unrealistic. Suggesting a Jew to do discounts? That's like asking a blind guy to describe the rainbow. Some unfortunate advertising later that backfires. Peter, Quagmire, and Mort sit in a bar.
Oh, God, I'm ruined. Nobody's ever gonna shop in my pharmacy again.
The boys bond over their shared hatred of insurance companies and decide to scam them.
Well, and I say, screw the bastards. Let's burn the place down.
That night, Mort details all the specifics to burn the store. They take the car and go to the pharmacy.
All right, let's get to work.
They burn the place down with ease. Next morning, the police inform them that the damages will be covered under insurance. Joe tells Mort that he'll personally look over his case, and Quagmire starts getting paranoid.
Why did I ever agree to do this? This isn't who I am. I looked in the mirror this morning, and it was like I was looking at a man I'd never seen before.
Hi, Scott Bakula.
You guys, I just can't take this anymore. I've been giving it a lot of thought, and I think we all just need to confess.
What?
Huh, so even the devil feels fear. Joe rolls over and starts questioning them. He shows them proof that they started the fire and arrests them.
First, I have to read you the Miranda rights for Jewish people.
Says Joe to Mort, but being the true Jew he is, Mort's lawyer, who looks kinda suspicious, shows up.
This interview is over.
Peter tries to gaslight Joe, and Quagmire says that he has no idea how scummy insurance companies are.
It's easy for you, Joe. You don't know what it's like to be screwed over by an insurance company.
Well, let me tell you a little story.
Joe then tells them about how he got scammed just after his legs broke. Joe deletes the evidence from his phone and lets them go. Says Mort one last time before the boys haul ass and go back to quahog shenanigans. I guess no legs does make you more kinder. Next up, we have Dr. Elmer Hartman, our beloved incompetent physician who might have very less screen time, but his character is not to be ignored as his antics are nothing short of extraordinary. Some of his best moments are, first up, we have the episode named Stewie Loves Lois, in which Peter goes to the hospital to get a flu shot, but discovers that it's not going to be the only thing he needs inside his body.
Well, you're 42 years old, and it says here you've never had a prostate exam.
With this discovery, Dr. Elmer convinces him to get a prostate exam as it's a very serious matter. But Peter doesn't know anything about exams, so he agrees to it.
All right, Mr. Griffin, I'm just going to need you to drop your pants and we'll check your prostate.
Peter innocently assumes that it's just another regular checkup, but little did he know that he was about to experience every guy with an uncle's childhood trauma.
What the hell was that? Mr. Griffin, that's a prostate exam.
Peter finally realized that Elmer wasn't going to feel his pulse, and it's too late now as Elmer had already taken his innocence. Or in other words, the cherry was popped before he could block. Unable to bear the weight, Peter runs away, feeling like he was just molested with a trauma that would take him some time to recover. He tells Lois about what happened to him, but she isn't surprised.
Peter, my God, you look terrible. What happened?
I was raped. Dr. Hartman violated me. He took my innocence.
What?
Peter's burden and trauma takes a heavy toll on him as everything he sees just reminds him about how he entered adulthood.
We now return to Freddy Got Fingered.
Oh, God.
Ouch.
Oh, God.
Yellow Pages. Let your fingers do the walking.
Ah!
Peter begins losing it and goes into depression as he recalls how another grown man's finger was inside him, so he starts to feel like a dirty, dirty girl. Peter finally spills the beans in front of his friends and they realize that they have all suffered from the rocket missile inside their base. Peter confesses to the group that his recent visit to Dr. Hartman took a disturbing turn, leaving him violated and traumatized. Initially brushing off his concerns, the others soon reveal that they too have experienced the doctor's inappropriate exams. What starts as a simple conversation spirals into a shocking group realization, as even the most unlikely members admit to being victims of Hartman's medical practices. The room turns from disbelief to horror, culminating in a collective outcry over the violation they all endured. Elmer seems to be on winning streak here with the fingers of God. Seeing the injustice before his eyes, Peter decides that the evil must be stopped, so he announces that he is going to take things into his own hands.
I am gonna sue that bastard and make him pay out the ass.
With the hand of justice by his side, Peter fights against the magical finger. And when things go to court where Peter reveals a shocking truth about the incident to the jury.
I trusted him. And then he told me to bend over. And then I just felt like something was wrong. I tried to get him to stop, but he kept saying, "Relax, I'm a doctor."
With a touch of black and white, Peter explains how he got touched, and in a shocking turn of events, The judge also reveals that the magical fingers reached him too, but Peter asks him to rethink what actually happened.
Are you sure, Judge? Are you sure it wasn't all evil and grainy and black and white?
Relax. I be a doctor. Guilty, 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 guilty!
The judge recalls his own trauma and finds Dr. Elmer guilty of the crime in an instant and revokes his medical license. Peter's luck soon runs out as he gets told that he might have barnacles in his ass, so he should get a prostate exam. But all the doctors are scared to see him now due to the lawsuit. He gets scared for his life as he sees a picture of a diseased prostate.
Well, you'd best come up with something, Peter. Otherwise, this will happen to your prostate.
Peter decides that he wants a finger up his ass again, and the only one who can save him now is the man with the magical fingers, Dr. Elmer Hartman. So he goes to him in disguise to get him to use his finger, but Elmer sees through him and refuses to help.
Well, don't look at me. I lost my license thanks to you.
Look, I know what I did was wrong, but you're the only one I can turn to.
And he walks right back into the devil's nest. Peter cries for mercy, asking Elmer to use his finger again because he is the only one who can do so. And Elmer's soft side gets the better of him, so he decides to help the poor lad out.
Looks like there's some blockage. What the devil is that? Hello?
All said and done, all the people realize how important Elmer's fingers are, so Elmer rises to fame again and finally gets his license reinstated. A little joke never hurts nobody, only the doctor's fingers do. Speaking of fingers, that's 2 fingers out of 5 for the underrated characters. Up next is Quahog's mustache news anchor with the perfect TV voice. Though usually just seen behind the news desk, Tom's actually hilarious when he's given more screen time. Let's take a quick peek into some of his shenanigans. The episode starts with Peter watching the news, where Tom's co-host accidentally reveals that Tom actually played Michael Myers in his favorite film. The lovable goof wastes no time and barges in the green room for an autograph.
You see, life after Halloween 4 wasn't exactly smooth sailing.
Oh, let me guess. You got way over your head, started abusing drugs, and ruined your life? Like I haven't heard that before. Peter tries to convince him to go back to Hollywood and is successful after Tom realizes that his anchor job absolutely sucks. Peter packs his bags and is about to leave the house.
Because I know Tom Tucker could be a great actor, and I'm gonna help him make it happen.
A quick flight and Tom and Peter arrive in Hollywood. Both of them have dinner at a fancy place where a casting director notices their poor table manners and figures they must be agent-actor duo.
You've got 10 seconds to dazzle me. Go!
Well, I'm the casting director for NCIS, and we need an actor for a small role that shoots tomorrow.
And thus, Tom Tucker is back in business, baby. Tom is thankful to Peter for finding him work. The next day, they both watch the scene together at the office, and Peter cries tears of a man devoid of quality television. They then get a quick visit from James Woods, who came back to life after dying the other day.
So what do you say, Peter? Will you be my agent?
Peter thinks about it, but because Peter can't actually think, he agrees and says that he'll take care of both of them. Flash forward in time, and Peter is landing big-time deals for James Woods and starts to ignore Tom's calls. They go to lunch.
Hey, listen, thanks for inviting me to lunch, Peter. I was starting to get nervous when you weren't returning my calls.
Peter hands him a card which basically tells Tom to take a hike.
You're dropping me as a client?
Yeah, I just heard it on the news.
How could you do this?
Peter makes the age-old excuse of computers and leaves before Tom can get a word in. Sometime later, Peter pitches James his next project, and James complains that he's been getting him the same role. James then gives Peter a taste of his own medicine.
Peter, this is probably a good time to fire you.
He takes his sorry ass back to Tom, full of guilt and remorse.
I'm really sorry about everything.
Sorry doesn't cut it, Peter. I quit my job, I left everything behind to come out here.
Tom somehow finds it in his heart to forgive the fat guy, which I would never do. And they decide to go back to Quahog. Back in Quahog, Peter watches the news starring Tom again, with the family. Another episode where Tom shows his personality is the Mother Tucker episode, where he just decides to be Peter's new dad for some time. It's just like any other day in Quahog, when suddenly the bell rings and it turns out to be Thelma Griffin, Peter's mother. With a walking hazard health ad violation in her hand, the young model reveals something.
Peter, I left your father.
She drops a bombshell and follows with another.
I have needs that he didn't satisfy, and I'm still a young woman, Peter.
Calm your horses there, Grandma. This ain't the Cougar House. Lois takes Thelma to a singles mixer, which is weird that she even knows about. Thelma struggles to find someone interesting, or rather someone interested in her at the event, when Tom walks up to her and says that he's recovering from his ex-wife. Lois leaves them be and squeezes out of there.
Can I get you some punch?
That's the news anchor Riz right there. The next day, Peter tries to wake up Thelma, asking her to go back to Dad, but walks in on her in the bed with a stash of cash himself. Peter can't believe it and goes off.
Tom Tucker, I forbid you to see my mother.
Tom dismisses him with his anchor skills. A while later, Peter tries to prank call Thelma into leaving Tom, but she finds out. He sulks out on the porch like a baby when Tom comes out and consoles him. He promises to take care of her.
I heard you like milkshakes.
Oh boy, do I!
Let's go get ourselves a shake, huh?
Yeah!
Hook, line, and sinker. Like a moth to a flytrap, nothing excites a fatty more than a good milkshake. Peter has the time of his life for the next few weeks, where it seems like he's living his childhood again. One day, Thelma comes down the stairs with a suitcase.
Hey, what gives with a suitcase?
Tom, there's no easy way to say this. I'll just come right out with it. I'm leaving.
Peter seems more upset than Tom at this decision and goes crying into his bed. Talk about being the father that stepped up. After consoling him like a true father, Tom gives him a peck on the cheeks and wishes him and Lois good night as he leaves. Some days later, Peter and Tom have dinner together when Tom gets angry at Peter's antics.
If you put that ice cream in your mouth, you're gonna be in big trouble, young man.
Peter doesn't listen and promptly gets spanked. Peter sulks on the porch again when a kid with dynamo syndrome, Jake, Tom's actual son, asks what's up. He tells him that Tom is being a jerk, but Jake says that at least he talks to him. Tom comes out of the house and apologizes to Peter.
Hey, Peter, I'm sorry about that business with the ice cream. I guess I'm just still a little torn up about your mom.
Peter almost goes with him, but somehow, someway, the kindness in his heart shines as he gives the glove to Jake and tells Tom to play with him instead. Okay now, mister, that's too much sense coming from a guy like you. Tom says okay and goes to play catch with his actual son. I assure you that you haven't, Peter, but good on you for this one act. Jerome. And who could forget Jerome, the new fourth friend that was meant to be a replacement for Cleveland, but found a home with Lois and Meg because Jerome gets whoever he wants. A smooth-talking, ultra-confident Casanova who mostly goes under the radar. The gang spends time in a bar, and Peter, Quagmire, and Joe need a new drinking buddy. And just when they're about to settle for the discount Cleveland, a guy named Jerome walks in like he owns the place. Peter's face lights up like he just won a lifetime supply of dry biscuits. They immediately welcome Jerome into the squad because, let's be honest, that was the main thing they missed about Cleveland. The gang had an amazing night out, except for Quagmire, who casually admits to having a girl tied up in his basement. Totally normal. Moving on. Peter brings Jerome home to introduce him to the family, not realizing he's about to walk into a soap opera twist better than some prime TV you watch.
Hey, Lois, I'd like you to meet our new friend.
Jerome?
Loose Lois.
What? You guys know each other?
Know each other? Peter, Jerome is an old boyfriend of mine.
Cue dramatic zoom. Lois's eyes widen, and Peter's last two brain cells try to do the math. Peter.exe has stopped working. The entire Griffin family reacts with about as much tact as you'd expect, which is none. Stewie, obviously the worst offender, takes it up a notch. Because if there's one thing Family Guy will never do, it's miss a chance to be wildly inappropriate. Peter's jealousy kicks in and he tries to play it cool, but the only thing he plays well is the jealous husband losing his grip on reality. Lois reassures Peter that Jerome is just a friend, but Peter's trust level is somewhere between 0 and this guy is definitely stealing my wife.
Hey, what the hell's going on?
I'll tell you what's going on. I have had about enough of you, Jerome. I know you want my wife, but you can't have it. You are no longer welcome in my house.
Jerome, being an actual class act, doesn't even fight back. Instead, he just shakes his head in disappointment, like a dad who caught his kid trying to microwave a fork. And with that, Jerome walks out, leaving Peter to stew in his own stupidity, since Peter forgot that bros before hoes is a real thing. Lois, proving once again that she married an idiot, decides to show Peter just how wrong he was about Jerome. She hands him a gift that Jerome left behind as a token of appreciation.
It's an actual prop from Family Ties.
Peter's tiny, blood pressured, sugar intake, guilt-ridden heart grows 3 sizes that day. He rushes to make amends, tracking down Jerome with the enthusiasm of a dog chasing its tail.
Look, I'm sorry about how I acted. It's just, Lois means everything to me.
Jerome forgives him like a true bro, but he does have one final confession before leaving.
While I was living with y'all, I had myself lots of nasty-ass sex with Meg.
I don't care about that.
Because Jerome never ends on an L. Peter barely reacts, probably because, at this point, that's just standard Meg behavior. In another episode, Chris starts dating Pam, Jerome's daughter, but their relationship quickly faces opposition when Jerome reveals he's not thrilled about his daughter dating a white boy. Chris's day takes a turn for the amazing when Pam, Jerome's daughter, casually flirts with him.
Hey, Chris.
Oh, hi, Pam.
I thought you gave a great book report at school today.
Chris, running on pure adolescent adrenaline, immediately loses all sense of composure.
Hey, maybe we could hang out again sometime, if you want.
I'd like that.
Cue the classic teenage rom-com moment. But wait, plot twist. Pam's dad is Jerome, and he's about to shut this whole operation down. Jerome doesn't waste a second before making his feelings crystal clear.
Nobody's dating nobody. You understand?
Peter, naturally, misinterprets everything. Jerome drops the real reason behind his disapproval. He doesn't want his daughter dating a white boy. I didn't know Jerome wasn't progressive like that.
Black people can't be racist. We could be way sexist, but we ain't racist.
Peter, determined to fix things in the worst way possible, invites Jerome and Pam over for dinner to prove white people are just as great as black people. This, of course, goes about as well as you'd expect from Peter Griffin. Jerome and Pam arrive, and within 2 seconds, the entire conversation is a flaming disaster.
Jerome, you have done a wonderful job raising Pam to be a lovely young woman.
You say that like you're surprised.
Lois, realizing she just stepped in it, fumbles for damage control while Peter makes everything infinitely worse.
What's my last name?
Cool J?
Where am I from?
The south part of a large city?
Where'd I go to college?
Things only go downhill from here as Peter busts out a song that somehow manages to make everything 10 times more offensive.
The music of Taylor Swift and clothing from J. Crew and John Heder, also half of Derek Jeter. Add to that a fleet of soccer moms packed into their yoga tights.
Jerome has officially had enough. Pam, however, refuses to let her dad ruin things, so she naturally picks the right option and runs away with Chris. Realizing he might have overreacted, Jerome teams up with Peter to track down the lovebirds.
Griffin, where the hell is my daughter? She left me a note saying she ran off with Chris.
Jerome does not find this comforting. Why would you even say that, Peter, you buffoon? Eventually, they track Chris and Pam to a motel where Jerome gets the shock of his life.
You okay, honey?
Dad, I'm fine. Don't worry, nothing happened.
Jerome, finally realizing he might have been too harsh, decides to let Pam and Chris continue dating. Peter, in true Peter fashion, takes the worst possible lessons from this. All's well that ends well, even if somehow Peter has gotten even more racist after this incident. Oh well. At last in the list, we have Neil Goldman, that one character in Family Guy who is somehow both forgettable and unforgettable at the same time. If awkwardness could be measured in units, Neil would be the gold standard. The episode kicks off with Meg doing her best to survive her usual existence of babysitting Stewie, when who shows up at the door?
Hi, Meg. You busy Saturday night?
Neil, you ask me out like once a day, and I always give you the same answer. No!
That's right. Our favorite nasal voice glasses wearing nerd, Neil Goldman. But Neil Goldman is always consistent, if anything. Meg's rejection only fuels his undying and mildly terrifying, honest to God, devotion. However, this time, Meg's rejection isn't just brushed off. We get a shocking moment. Neil has actually moved on. That's right, the ultimate underdog, the one-man Meg fan club, has a new girlfriend. The reveal that Neil has found someone else hits Meg like a truck. She had spent years rejecting him, fully expecting him to always be there, waiting. But when Neil strolls in with his new girlfriend Cecilia, Meg's world is flipped upside down.
You ready to go, honey?
You rejected me too many times, Meg. I couldn't wait for you forever.
Oh, the sweet, sweet irony. Meg, who spent her life dodging Neil like he was an infectious disease, suddenly finds herself feeling jealous? The guy she called a loser every single day had not only found someone, but someone who actually liked him for who he was. This revelation sends Meg into an emotional spiral. She starts seeing Neil in a different light, which is perhaps the most absurd character shift we've seen in a while. The once creepy nerd suddenly looks like a prize. Meg can't stand it. She starts making desperate attempts to get Neil's attention, pulling out every trick in the book to make him jealous. Eventually, as one last desperate attempt, Meg snaps and does the unthinkable.
Neil, I want to be your girlfriend.
What?
I was wrong to drive you away. We belong together.
Neil decides to act smart for once. But Neil isn't about to just take Meg back. Oh no, my friends, he makes her work for it. Neil agrees to give Meg a chance, but only under one condition. She must sign a contract that binds her to fulfilling the obligations of being his girlfriend. And what might be the most ridiculous power move ever, Neil whips out a legally binding contract, one that was drafted by both of their dads. Meg, blinded by her sudden and completely irrational love for Neil, signs the contract without hesitation. Things take a turn for the worse.
Neil, not so fast.
Meg, you need to fulfill your contractual obligations.
What are you talking about?
Being Neil's girlfriend is not exactly what Meg imagined. She thought it would be a dream come true, finally having someone who worships her. Instead, she quickly learns that being Neil's girlfriend comes with certain expectations. What follows is a series of hilariously awkward moments where Meg realizes that she has signed up for something far worse than just being single. Neil is demanding, weirdly meticulous, and still way too comfortable discussing his psoriasis. Meg tries to back out, but the contract holds firm. Her only escape would be if Neil cheats on her. In a desperate attempt to free herself, Meg and her family set up an elaborate trap to catch Neil in an act of infidelity. And who better to seduce him than Lois, Meg's own mother. Yuck! Neil, ever the faithful boyfriend, initially resists, but when faced with the seductive wiles of an older woman, he finally breaks. Lois leans in, Neil loses his marbles, and just like that, the contract is nullified. Meg, free at last, breathes a sigh of relief. But Neil, being the master of unexpected twists, doesn't end up heartbroken. Instead, he casually brushes off the entire experience and strolls right back to Cecilia, who welcomes him with open arms. Meg, left standing there in shock, realizes that she actually lost him for good. And thus, Neil Goldman walks away from this episode as the ultimate winner. From desperate loser to man in demand, Neil pulled off one of the greatest transformations in Family Guy history. The underdog had his day, and for once, Meg was the one left wanting. And that, folks, is how you play the long game. So these were 5 underrated Family Guy characters that usually go under the radar. Let us know if your favorite character made the list. And if you like the content, make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel so you can continue to get even more hilarious and unique Family Guy content from us. Until then, it's lights off for the world of Quahog and its funny little characters.